Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Dwayne Kimball, owner and founder of KMD 89 VA Claims Consulting, Leave No Vet Behind. And also, I am a United States Army veteran. Today, I have a surprise guest for everyone. But before I introduce the new guest, I just want to do a quick KMD 89's disclaimer. Just want everybody to know that all my YouTube live streams and all my YouTube videos are for educational and informational purposes only. We are not accredited claims agents, so we don't advise the vet. We don't represent, we don't represent the veteran before the VA, and we do not provide any medical advice or legal advice, as we are not attorneys or medical doctors. So with that being said, I am super excited to introduce our guest tonight. And I will to the KMD 89 team. And his name is Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson, how are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Hey, I can't complain. I can't complain. First, I would just like to say welcome to the KMD 89 team. I'm super excited that you decided to join the team and educate veterans so they may be able to maximize their benefits. So if you don't mind, just tell a little bit about yourself to the KMD 89 YouTube subscribers out there so they can get to know you a little bit.
Okay. DJ Johnson. So for the sake of time and to keep us on point, I'm just going to cut right to the point. I'm a retired United States Air Force veteran, and as such, already have stake with making sure that veterans are treated fairly and that they understand all the opportunities and all the privileges that are offered with VA and especially with veteran service. I'm the third generation of my family. My son makes number 4. So as you can tell, we don't shy away from serving our country. I'm a retired air traffic controller, worked for a Fortune 50 company. After that, I was building airspace, doing things in the line of air traffic control. I was air traffic control instructor, built what we call the highway in the sky, instrument procedure designer. So when you take off from airport to airport, that route that the pilot has to fly, that's what I was designing. And also, I was a rater with the Department of Veterans Affairs. So I do understand a little about what we're talking about here. Father, husband, and I can go on and on, but back to you, Mr. Kimball.
All right. Hey, so definitely you had mentioned that you were a rater. So I'm going to talk about rating and some topics as it pertains to rating and clarify some of those things. So definitely, again, I'd like to welcome you to the team. And we don't want to forget, we have another member to our team is our assistant, Miss Deborah. She keeps us on point, especially with my calendar because it fills up. She does a wonderful job, doing follow-up emails to veterans and setting up our monthly educational training and some other things behind the scenes. So, hey, I would definitely just like to give a shout out to her and say, thank you because, we need that someone to, kind of kick us in the butt sometime and keep us on track. Okay. All right. So with that being said, we're going to get into our next topic. And our next topic is we're going to have, we're doing our first veteran town hall next Wednesday. I think I just got 2 emails today, and I think it is booked up. We had 20 seats. I think we had 2 left about a couple hours ago, and I just got a notification. 2 people signed up. So I hope everybody that signed up will send out emails, reminder emails, 3 email reminders before April 20th. And in this town hall, normally when I do these live streams, I'm the one answering questions from the individuals signed up. And what I mean by that is like in the introduction video that I did, that I put out I think it was last Friday. Oh, I'm sorry, this past Monday, is that we want to hear about your experience with the VA claims process, with things that you think the VA is not doing so good, and some things that they could be doing better. Okay, so it won't be a Q&A for us. It'll be a Q&A for the veterans, and this gives us the time to interact together and get to know some of our subscribers from the YouTube channel. And also, we just want to hear your feedback. You know, I shared my story about my VA claims process, so we want to hear from you. The second part of that is we're going to do a Kahoot quiz. I did this back in December with about 6 or 7 veterans. It went really well. Had a lot of fun, and individuals definitely connected. So we wanted to do it again. And also, the third part of this is we're finishing up, putting the finishing touches on a mock claim folder. Okay, so each town hall is going to be a little bit different, and you're going to have to sign up. And when I do my YouTube videos, I'm going to have the event where you can sign up for it. But this one, we're going to let veterans rate a case. It's going to be a mock claim folder. So we got a draft DD-214, a John Doe DD-214, some fake STR service treatment records, and we're going to test your knowledge and let you rate a case and put you in that rater hot seat. So DJ, they're going to have to, I'm going to send them some emails and say, hey, the front office want a status of this, so they can they can get that feel, and then we're going to do a final town hall and just get some feedback, especially for those that signed up. So it's going to be a full parts of this whole town hall, but we're going to kick it off next week. So definitely we want to be on the lookout for that. DJ, you got anything to add about the town hall, or some maybe some surprise questions that you may ask some of the subscribers or veterans?
No, but I'm looking forward to it because I haven't seen a town hall done in that manner, and I think that will be a very special teaching moment and learning experience for the veterans, especially the younger veterans.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely I'm looking forward to it as well. I get asked a lot of questions, and it's a lot of people just hear me, especially on here, and I'm answering a lot of questions, but that gives us a chance to ask some of the questions. So definitely, I'm definitely looking forward to it. So the next topic for the day, we're going to talk about protection of a service-connected condition. I've been getting asked a lot of questions about, if I'm 100% P&T, would I still need to get continued treatment? And will the VA go back periodically and look at my information? And one of the other questions I get, if I'm 100% P&T and I come in for something new, will the VA go back and look at my entire claims file and everything that I'm service connected for? So DJ, I'll just ask you, just provide your input, your feedback on that. You said when you were a rater, but when you were a rater and a veteran was 100% P&T and they came in for requesting service connected for something new, would you go back and look at everything?
That's a question that doesn't have one specific answer, but I'll say it like this. Let's say, for example, the veteran is coming in for a new claim and they're already 100% permanent and total. We do a once over. Pretty much, we go back and review the previous rating errors. I mean, the rating decisions for errors. So if your rating is is above board, there's no problems. I mean, sometimes there are errors that are caught, like the wrong effective date, and most of the times that'll work out in a veteran's favor. So sometimes when we find wrong effective dates, we'll go ahead and cite that. But for the most part, time is a big factor. So if you would imagine a person going through years and years of records to assess one condition, so to be more productive, but at the same time precise, a lot of time is not spent in the past, but we do review it for errors, and quality errors. Effective dates are a big one. Sometimes veterans have lingering conditions that they apply for a rating, and for some reason it just sat there, because once upon a time, we're doing electric records now, but before we had hard case files. So sometimes those documents can get misplaced. Well, that was back then. Now it's pretty precise record counting, but it could happen. So I'm not going to say it won't happen. It could happen, but for one or two conditions, yeah, that's not common. It's not common. In my experience, it's not common.
Right. And, I tell veterans that, especially like you said, if it's above board, everything was done right. And I was talking to a veteran today, and I was giving them an example of actually a rater made a mistake. The veteran came in for increase for a knee condition, and they granted a temporary 100% under Diagnostic Code 5055, which was a knee replacement, and the veteran only had an orthoscopic, and came in 5 years later claiming the left knee secondary to the right knee. And just so happened on the exam, the doctor said there wasn't, the veteran didn't have a knee replacement. And so that prompted me to go back and look at that previous rating decision. And guess what? It wasn't, the veteran didn't have the knee replacement. It was orthoscopic. So you had to call a CUE on that particular rating. Now, keep in mind, if that 30%, when the veteran was reduced from 100 back down to 30, and they put him over the hump, him or her over the hump to that 100%, then we would have been possibly severing the permanent, the chapter 35, because that would be included in the error as well. But that veteran knew that they didn't have a knee replacement, because I looked at that previous rating and it said, we're granting you this due to the knee replacement. So you have to be not only educated on the VA claims process as it pertains to protection, as a protection rule, but also educated on your claim. Like you said, if you were above the board, then you don't have anything to worry about. But another question, DJ, a lot of get is asked this question. Mm-hmm. You have to still continue to get treatment for something that you service connected, or the VA is going to go back and take it from you. And I always ask veterans, how do they know that you're getting treatment? Right. That's too much manpower to try and put into that and all those different claims. You know what I mean? What do you think about that?
Repeat that the question as far as you have to.
If you're 100% PNT,
right,
permanent and total. Once you get 100% permanent total, do you have to still continue to get treatment?
It just depends on the condition. Some people with let's say a mental. If you have a mental and there's been a routine future placed on it for some reason,
Well, I'm saying if you're 100% permanent total. So if you're PNT,
no, because permanent total just is that permanent and total. And for something to take away your permanent total status, it would really depend on the veteran initiating the action. Unless it was a quality assurance thing and they caught a clear and unmistakable error. That's a CUE.
Right. Yeah. Right. But yeah, I agree. You don't have to keep getting treatment, because I get asked that question. Do I have to continue to get treatment? And I'm like, some things that I'm service connected for, some stuff I do and some I don't because it's permanent. They said it's static and it's permanent.
Exactly.
Okay?
And then some
Right.
people deal with private doctors and not the VA. So in order for the VA to have those records, the veteran would have to push those records to the VA. So
Right. And that's why I say it's so important not to be, not only be educated on the claims process, but the your claim as well. So
that's right.
if you do, because I was permanent total and I came in later and claimed some increases and some stuff, and I wasn't even worried about them going back and looking at nothing else,
Right.
Because if you think about it, some vets in their folder, they may have, I've seen like, especially somebody that service connected back in the 80s, they may have 10 rating decisions, in that folder. So to go back and look through all that stuff, you're talking about some man hours or woman hours,
Right.
to
But
go back
that's
and look at that.
that's a good thing. I mean to cut you off, but I just throw this out. Maybe that's a topic for another time. A lot of folks that were rated back in the 80s and early 90s, even early 2000s, they had knee conditions like major joint conditions, and maybe they received a 0% for some reason. Now just pain alone can get you to 10% or even 20% for the shoulders.
So right.
Put that out there.
Yep. Good point. And normally I see we do have some comments, but we're going to get to those towards the end. We just want to talk about some different topics, and normally I go through and I say hello. See, we got Charmaine McWilliams, got Memphis in the house. Definitely appreciate you joining in. We got Paratrooper Girl. Yep. How many jumps you got, Paratrooper Girl? Then we got Raymond, certified CPA. Who else we got? KY, Danny Hiller, Mr. Howard. So definitely thanks for joining in. We got someone here from Cincinnati, Ohio. So definitely appreciate you joining in. So the next topic we're going to talk about is DBQ's and Nexus statement mistakes. Okay. Still talking to some veterans that are still making mistakes as it pertains to DBQs, but more so Nexus statements. The DBQs were posted back on the VA's website as of March 1st of this year. I did a YouTube video on it, and I listed the different verbiage in the old M21 reference and the new 21 and manual M21 reference. And the big difference from last year and now is in that reference, it states that veterans can have DBQs completed by video now. Okay. But also it states in there that, a little caveat in the note section, and even in the DBQ, it asks that examiner what information that they review. So DJ, back when you were rating, what did you think about a veteran submitting a DBQ and or Nexus statement?
Well, for me personally, if it was done right, that was the best thing going, because it reduced your workload, and it enabled me to rate that claim faster. And that was the problem, though. Was the examination done correctly? Was the Nexus done correctly? And I believe we're going to talk about that. You're going to bring some of those points up?
Yeah. I have to, with the DBQs and Nexus statements, some of the mistakes. Yeah.
Okay. And so, well,
one of the things, go ahead.
Okay. Kind of got a pause there. Well, what I do first is I go by the regulation. So the manual gives us some common mistakes or some common errors that enforces us returning the exam. And one is, I wrote down some, so if you see me looking this way, I still got to get used to this, but the examination report is unsigned. So that's a common one. as a rater, you get the exam report, even the VSR, you're going to look down at the bottom, make sure it's signed, just like we would with an application like a 526 EC. All requested disabilities not addressed. For example, veteran claimed bilateral knee condition, and then the examiner only examined the right knee, or they only wrote down about the right knee. So now, if we have enough information to give a partial rating, we can, but normally we'll send those back, to reassess the opposite knee. And the required questions on the DBQ are unanswered, kind of like what you said a few minutes ago, especially about has the examiner review the claims folder or the file, the treatment records. And example I had was, does the veteran have more than one mental disorder diagnosed? So like when they have a PTSD exam, and if the person also has traumatic brain injury, or let's say schizophrenia or something like that, another mental condition where you have overlapping symptomology, and then we would have to send that back because the examiner will have to differentiate which symptoms go with which diagnosis. And the manual also talks about the required review of the claims folder was not accomplished. So that's person didn't, there's some boxes on different exams, and I'll stick with the mental for this point, but let's say no records identified, service treatment records or private treatment records, and that's under that section 2 with clinical findings, if you guys are looking on that PTSD exam. Another one is the report is missing information pertinent to the specific disability under review, such as the impact of musculoskeletal pain on the functional loss of an affected joint. So like we were talking about earlier, shoulder. So before, your shoulder may have only warranted 10%, but now due to different criteria that changed in 2016, you can get 20% just for pain alone. Another one was medical opinion is not properly supported by valid rationale or by the evidence of record. And again, like with the mental, if it's a first time PTSD claim, you cannot have that done by someone that's not affiliated with the VA, for example, a VA examiner or a VA contracted examiner. So if you're a veteran and you're submitting a PTSD exam, it has to be done the first time, the initial one has to be done by the VA.
I think they changed it, DJ, and it's if the veteran claims PTSD based on fear.
Fear, exactly.
If it's outside of fear, meaning if they saw somebody, get killed or something like that. But yeah, if it's based on fear, the first exam, PTSD exam, have to be done
right.
At the VA. Some of these things that we're talking about, and I tell people, when you submit 5,000 pieces of paper to the VA, somebody has to look at that, every single page, and then they have to look at the M21 sometimes, or the 38 CFR, and try and apply it. You might be in there for like an hour before you even finish that, get started on that rating decision, But some of the things I usually see with DBQs is, some of the boxes not completed, documents reviewed. I know for mine, when I had my private doctor reviewing my completed my DBQ, I gave him a copy of my DD 214. If it was an increase, I would give him a copy of the previous rating decision, the disability breakdown letter, which shows I'm service connected, and maybe any other information if I was taking some type of prescriptions, or if I had an x-ray, so they could note that on the DBQ, so that way they did review something. And you brought up the claims folder, and I keep mine right here in the office, but a lot of vets, and I don't know why, and I ask people, leave a comment in the comment section and tell me why veterans do not submit that. There you go. Why do veterans do not submit that FOIA request and get a copy of their claims folder?
Right.
They'll say, oh, I'm gonna do a high level review. How can you win a high level review if you had a CMP exam and you don't know why that doctor said no?
Right.
Because at that point, and we'll get into it here next about the high level review. But one of the challenges that I was going to even talk about tonight, and even next week, is I would like to hear people say, leave me a comment and say, hey, Dwayne, I submitted a FOIA request today for my claims folder. Like you
That's
just
very
showed
important.
yours.
Very
Mine
important.
looked the same way. I got a paper copy and I always use I didn't bring it over here on my desk, but I use it as a prop, and I show people and I'm like, hey, this is what these claim folders used to look like. And you would have to sit there and I had one of those little rubber things on my thumb, or I put it on a fat Sharpie.
Oh yeah.
And this is what you're doing, getting whiplash, looking, all day, through that paperwork. So people think more is better, and that's not all, not always
That's
the
right.
case. But you brought up, you said one key word, rationale. A lot of people don't know what a rationale is, and we have a class that we do monthly where we talk about nexus statements. And then we talk about, we got a class, education class, and we talk about how to review a DBQ. And one thing that we talk about and show for the nexus statement class, give an example of a direct medical opinion with the rationale and secondary opinion with the rationale. And people fail to sign up for it, and then they go spend $1,200 for a nexus statement. And guess what? It's not sufficient and acceptable for rating purposes. Because most of the time, a lot of people, I had a veteran say, well, I submitted an FDC claim with a nexus statement. And I was like, well, what else did you submit? That was it. So I'm like, well, what happened to the DBQ? Well, I just thought I needed a nexus statement, but I did an FDC claim. That's not the way it works. You need something to go along with it. So we have those classes on our website, and they're there for a reason, to educate you so you don't get frustrated and start running into a red tape. Because if you check that FDC box and just submit a nexus statement, regardless if it's correct or not, then you still gotta you still have to have a DBQ. Okay, DJ, I think you hit your mute button by mistake. So you're on mute there. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So now we're going to get into. Let me switch back here
before
to
you
the
switch
comments.
over. So what I was reading from, for the folks that was following earlier, I was reading straight out the manual, and one that was it was G was a requested medical opinion was not furnished. So that's another one. But those are straight out from the manual. We didn't make those up. Those came straight out the book.
Right. Okay, so we got some new members in here. Chad Hawkins, JD says thanks again. 73 Nova Man says, how do we get a DBQ form? The VA put them back on their website. So if you go to va.gov, I normally did a search. One of the subscribers were pleasant enough to text me the link. And let's see, JD says, where do I subscribe to these classes? If you go to kmd89.com, kmd89.com, and click on the classes link, you'll see it. Also, in the description section of all our YouTube videos, if you hit that show more button, a lot of people don't like clicking that show more button. I put a lot of information in there.
That's right.
How did I get a copy? Verbatim, how I submitted my FOIA request. What form did I use? The verbiage that I put on that form. Okay. How do you do, what else I have in there? I think, how do you do, submit a FOIA request and intent to file. But clicking that show more button, when you click on it, everything is going to illuminate. It's going to be like Charlie Murphy seeing Rick James for the first time, and he had that glow around. When you click on it, you're going to be like, all this new information. So JD says, oh, cool, I'm on it. So, all right. So definitely go to show more button. It's in the lower left-hand corner of the videos right down there. And we have all that information, a link to our website, link to the website for the classes and stuff like that. All right. We're halfway through the month. So our system will be updating May, but I think it's still some few classes left for this month. So the next topic we're going to talk about is high-level review mistakes. And I think the main thing is the education. People not knowing what a high-level review is. And when I look at it as that decision review officer is looking to see if that VSR or RVSR made a mistake.
Right.
Okay. And a lot of people say, well, I got denied. I'm going to do a high level review. And I'll go back and I'll say, well, what's your strategy? Well, they denied me. But why they deny you? Well, they said this, 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 and this. Did you have a CMP exam? Yep. Do you have a copy of it? Nope. So the doctor gave a negative opinion. So if you don't know why that doctor said no, how can you even fight that at a high level review?
Right.
You got any thoughts on that, DJ?
No, you pretty on point with that. You know, the purpose of the higher level review is done by DRO, and that name in and of itself is Decision Review Officer. So they're reviewing the decision that the rater made, and that those people before the rater had their hands in it, like the VSR with evidence collection and such as that. But yeah, you're right on point. You have to be educated in the actual process, because some people just put high level review because they think, okay, higher level review, so that means I'm more important now because I'm checking it, or
be automatic,
fast track. No.
Yeah.
Right.
And I did a video and I talked about my success in winning my appeal. And I had a legal pad, I had everything lined out, and I was like, hey, when I went in there, I don't want to say I controlled it, but I was like, I went condition by condition, and I was like, hey, I should have been service connected for this because of X, Y, and Z. I should have been granted an early effective date because X, Y, and Z. Here's the evidence, or I should have been given a higher evaluation because X, Y, and Z. And I had that supporting documentation. So I knew the what, when, why, and how. And that decision review officer, you know what she was doing the whole time? Shaking her head like that.
Yeah.
Because I had to be familiar on the process. And a lot of people think, well, you were a VA employee, it was easy for you. I don't know about you, DJ, but when I was doing my claim, I was like, man, wait a minute. I got another rater telling me no. And if I did what they did in my rating, I would get an error on it. So, we had to fight that. And a lot of people think it's easier for us because we're raters, but that's not always the case.
Right. Regardless of what position you hold, you still have to meet the criteria. And, one is, do you have a current condition? You have a current disability. So that's one. Two, do you have event, injury, or disease, or even aggravation that you can prove happened in service? Those are the two major things. And then the number three is, can you provide that nexus or that link that puts number one and number two together? So even if you work for the VA, the more you get smarter on the process, educated on the process, then you'll see how you need to put your case together. And that's all it is. I mean, it took me a minute too, because I didn't understand the process. And that's why I really love when you came at me and you said, you were starting this business venture and you wanted to educate the veterans. And that's one big thing that we saw was lacking in the VA, that the veterans didn't have as much education as they could have.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think some people, they overthink it.
Oh,
they overthink the process. And, I had someone say, I get asked a question, well, if I submit this, what would a rater do? I mean,
they're all different.
I don't know. Yeah. Now I don't know, but that's a particular person. I don't know what they would do, but per the M21 or the 38 CFR, I know what they're supposed to do, but that doesn't always happen. And I always tell this story. I was doing a rating, and I don't know if this ever happened to you, but I was doing a rating, and how you look at the previous rating, you're like, man, what would this rater thinking? Boy, they just stupid. And you call them all type of names. Then you go see who did the rating, and it was me.
Oh, wow.
And I tell people, I'm like, when you have the human factor, you got a quota you have to meet, and you get the rushing. And then that's when you start, to make mistakes. And that's why I tell veterans, get educated so you can help them to help you move your claim to the next stage.
That's
If
right.
you just go out and say, well, the VA is supposed to do this and the VA is supposed to do that, yeah, that's correct. But again, they're on a quota, so you want to do your part.
Right. And I remember talking to one veteran. They were trying to grasp the concept, and it was an older gentleman, Vietnam era. And so I was telling him, I said, look at it this way. If your son or daughter wanted to borrow some money from you to buy a house, you want to know what, when, where, how, why, right? So you want them to present that story. And the house, okay, do you have the money to pay me back? When you gonna pay me back? How you gonna pay me back? It's a lot of questions. So similarly, with the VA claims process, if you could write the story and then you submit your claim, half the battle was already won because you're educated. You already proved the first three things that we just talked about for direct service connection. So current disability, event in service, injury or disease, and then the link or the nexus that links those two together. So,
and a lot of veterans don't know that in the M21, there's an M21 reference that states the veteran is competent to provide residuals and symptoms.
right.
So if somebody were to deny me based on that, when I go to high level review, I'm saying, hey, wait a minute. Your M21 states that I'm competent enough to provide you this information.
Right.
And at least if they didn't give a CMP exam, so I'm like, hey, so when you understand why you're doing a high level review, the process, and then why you're doing it, well, and what you're trying to accomplish. Well, I'm trying to accomplish to get a CMP exam. So when you get on that informal conference, you're like, hey, wait a minute. This M21 states that I had a treatment in service and I'm competent enough to provide my symptoms and residuals. And that should be enough to at least raise reasonable doubt, which always goes in favor of the veteran, to give me a compensation and pension exam and let that doctor give a medical opinion and rationale. And a lot of veterans miss that when they go to the high level review. When that decision review officer, you may get some that may not even think that way or even bring it up. And if you don't know, you're kind of sitting there and you're talking, you get long-winded. I think a lot of vets get long-winded.
Right.
And their story gets lost.
Right.
Or they'll say, well, let me just tell you what. They got 30 minutes. They don't have time to listen to your whole story. It's like you have to understand, why are you there for that high level review?
That's right.
Where did they go wrong? What do you see where they went wrong? What 38 CFR or M21 states that, you should have been given a CMP exam or whatever. That's the way I focused on mine.
Right.
So
right.
Putting them in a position where they couldn't say no.
And even when we had our hearings, when a vet is not educated, you can see those stories get longer and then they get drawn out and then they go to different topics. Like one gentleman I had, now he was there for he was trying to get his skin cancer service connected, but it was denied because his evidence wasn't together. And I mean, it was simple to do, and he had a POA there with him, so it was simple to do. However, I couldn't tell him how to do it. I could just point out why it was denied, and then I could tell them what evidence I've had. And so because that's the POA's job at that point, right, once they have one. And so he went on this story about how he served in the military, but then it went all the way to how he reads the stars, and he could see all. And that goes back to being educated. If you can keep things simple, concise, to the point, it always works better. Always works better.
Right. And I was in those hearings. A couple of times I threw the lawyer and the POA under the bus. I was like, veteran, I said, hey, well, I tried to reach out to your POA to, see if you get a DBQ completed, but I never heard back from them. And they drove all the way like from Pensacola, like 6 hours or something. And the veteran just looking at the lawyer like, why didn't you tell me? Because, it could be something simple. So I would always reach out to the POA beforehand and be like, hey, what is the veteran looking for? I'll go ahead and I'll extend, the claim another 30 days, to give them the information. But if I haven't received anything by that time, I'm moving forward with the decision. Yeah.
Right.
So, all right. So now we're going to get to our 3 reasons why VA claims fail. Okay. And again, people, this is just our opinion. You probably ask 10 other raters and get 10 other reasons. But mine, one is lack of education. I get people say, hey, I don't need to be educated. Okay. Not a problem. And I talk about my experience. I went educated on my first claim and I got some bad information, and it took me weeks or months. It took me years to correct that 3, 4, 5 minute mistake. So I think lack of education that veterans have caused them to fail. Incorrect paperwork submitted. A lot of people think, oh, they'll be claiming a back condition and they'll submit, 100 pages about the right finger or something like that, that none that pertains to what they're claiming. And it's just like when they're talking like at a high level review and they get long winded. That's like with their paperwork, because that's what VA employees have to look at. If you got 1,000 pages of stuff, it's like a needle in a haystack. And what if those 1,000 pages, they don't pertain to anything? I've seen veterans submit like 800 pages of medical records from the VA. Guess what? Raters have to go through the healthcare system and look at those.
Right.
So submitting them, getting a printout from My Healthy Vet and uploading them, they have to be looked at. They have to look at those anyway, because they're within the federal control. And last, again, long and drawn out statements. Like I said, I talk to veterans daily and they say, oh, let me just tell you my story. You could tell me your story, but does that claim file tell a different story? And it goes back to not having that claims folder. So what about your 3, DJ?
Well, lack of education. That's the top for me. You nailed it. I mean, if you have, if you just somewhat take an interest for your own benefit, I mean, you're going to see a light and day difference. Just knowing some of the steps for filing an initial claim, because we have some veterans, they're old and they were under the mindset that I don't need disability, and then as they age and then they see, their circumstances have changed. Now they want to go back. So it's a long process if they don't have a good representation. But if they understood the process and were educated, life would be so much easier. Kind of like teaching your kid how to open up a checking account. They're going to need it. If you're a veteran, right, you should at least understand your benefits, and how to go about submitting for them. But another one was lack of evidence. Real big one. You see people that have current disabilities, but they can't complete that story. They can't finish it. Okay, they have number 1, but what about 2 and 3? So number 1 was a current disability. Number 2 is one of the most important things, the evidence. So event in surgery, event in service, injury in service, or disease, or even an aggravation. Like if you came in the service and you may have had, flat feet, pes planus, and they never mentioned it on your entry exam. And then later, find out that you submit an exam and you had pes planus in high school, but they never talked about it in service. So that would be the aggravation. So if you get your evidence together is one of the main points of your claim. And then the number 3 was that nexus or the link. So a good nexus statement from a physician, or even something as simple as lay statements. As lay statements hold a lot of weight, especially in high level reviews, because the DRO, decision review officer, they have more leeway than a rater would. But even raters have the ability to take lay evidence, balance it with current evidence of record, and make a determination. So, for example, if pes planus, if the veteran had it before service, Nothing was documented during service. You got out, said, hey, you know, I had pes planus. I saw a private physician while I was in service. They just didn't put it in my service records. Submits all those, submits a lay statement from a relative, a friend, a service member, and we could take that into consideration as well because that's evidence. But a lay statement in conjunction with other evidence like current disability, when did it start, and things of that nature. But those are my top three. The education is always number one. Number
Yeah.
two, lack of evidence, and then the nexus or the link or lay statement.
Right. And when I did my claim, I didn't have any late statements. I was like, I don't at the time I didn't, I was like, I don't for my claim, every claim is different. And I was like, I'm not going to do any late statements. But evidence, people think they have to run out and get all this evidence. When I was denied a particular claim and I want to reopen, you know what I did? I went to my local urgent care, walked in there, paid my copay. What a problem. I got low back pain. That's evidence. That's a current diagnosis. And there's evidence. That's all I had. Resubmitted it with a DBQ and Nexus statement. Guess what? Got service connected for it. And that was it. And a lot of people think, oh, I got to run here. I got to get this. I got to get that. Like it's just, they make it this long drawn out process and it doesn't have to be.
Right. And some of that is from misinformation, which leads back to the education. So, we often tell somebody that tells somebody and, the information gets misconstrued and it's wrong. Then we act on it. And I've seen some veterans do that and they put them behind the curve because if they would have did their initial claim, if they would have did it correctly, they would have got paid in, months rather than having to resubmit and file an appeal. Now, that's going to take a while because the appeals process is backed up. So,
right.
Education.
Oh yeah. So that wraps up what we were going to talk about. But before I get into, taking some questions, a few questions, don't forget, I think we're all booked up for the first town hall next week. Again, you're going to get emails, reminder emails. And if you sign up, that means, you put it on your calendar. Please show up because other veterans could, somebody else that wanted to, I understand life things happen, but other veterans could have wanted to sign up. So make sure if you signed up, you show up. It's going to be done by Zoom. We're going to be sharing, the video. I'm sorry. We're going to be showing our webcams like we're doing tonight. So if you signed up, please show up. Definitely appreciate it. But we're going to get into some comments. I'm going to throw them up on the screen. First one we got KY. What can you see those comments down at the bottom on the screen, DJ? Just want to make sure.
I believe so. Which specific doctors would you recommend to comment on sleep apnea? Okay, I can see it.
Secondary to GERD, depression, rhinitis, etc. I think any medical doctor can do that. Like I said in some other videos, I just call the private doctors that was treating me and told them what I needed. And, luckily enough to me, they were like, yeah, we'll go ahead and we'll do whatever we need to do to, paperwork you need to get completed. But I would say in that instance, just a regular medical doctor or somebody whoever that granted or gave you that diagnosis for
sleep apnea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Special.
Let's see what other question we got. Danny Hillard says, my tinnitus claim was denied again. My VSO, for those of you who don't know what VSO stands for, Veteran Service Organization or Veteran Service Officer. Wasn't any help. Is it best to see another VSO or just put the claim in myself? How do I do this? This my MOS was a 13 Bravo. Okay, Mr. Hillard, I was a 13 Charlie. Shoot, move, and communicate. Boom, boom. I know you remember that doing PT. Again, it's being educated and being educated on acoustic trauma. So, Mr. Hillard, when I was in Germany in Fort Hood, I was assigned to a 155 mechanized artillery unit. And, if you ever worked around 155 Howitzers, which I never worked inside one, but going down the motor pool and hearing those things cranked up, and they're like those MA1 Abrams M1 tank with that loud noise in that engine, not having earplugs in, that's being being exposed to acoustic trauma. So again, if you were denied and given a CMP exam, why did that doctor say no? Okay, that's what you got to figure out. Who else we got? Kevin S. He said, "Hello, fellas. How you doing, Kevin? Thank you for what you do. You're most certainly welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight." We got, there he is, certified public accountant. Hello, guys. How we doing? We got what is that? Squirrel Garage, Rabbit
Squirrel Garage.
Rabbit Squirrel Garage, all the way from Cincinnati, Ohio. I wonder if it's still snowing up there. It was 92 degrees today when I got ready to go to the gym earlier. Charmaine Williams, they got Memphis in the house. How you doing, Charmaine? Eric Hicks, hello from DMV. I think Eric Hicks is part of the Facebook Veterans Service Group, the Veterans Group on Facebook, I believe. Okay. We got Michael Perry, outstanding topics. Thanks. And we want these topics. We both, we came up with them to try and just touch some important things that's going on that we think is going on within the VA, and definitely what can definitely help you to get educated on. Let's see, Bernard, book, watching YouTube, awesome. Thank you, Bernard. AMD says knowledge going on. Hey, always trying to get that, pass on that information so we can get more vets service connected up to that 100%. What is the name of the manual that he speaks of, JD? I think we were talking about, we were only talking about the 38 CFR, the M21.
Right, the M21-1.
Yeah. And Mr. Blackman said the M21. Yep. Let's see. I think we talked about this. Nova Man, how do we get DBQs? If you go to the VA's website, type in disability benefit questionnaire, and it will give you a search, and it'll search the whole website. And you should see that a link that you can click on, and it'll come up. Where do I subscribe to these classes? On our website. Again, the link to the website, to the classes, Instagram, Facebook, Veterans Group for KMD 89 is all in the description section of each YouTube video, along with the disclaimer. Okay, we got Brooklyn Vet. What's up, brothers? What's going on? Brooklyn. Let's see. Carl Mitchell says applied for C5 4-year and was denied. I heard somebody else say that. Kind of curious, did they say why it was denied? I've heard a couple other vets say that. Have you ever heard of that happening, DJ?
No, I haven't. I'm interested to see what the reason for denial was as well.
Yeah, I would think they would give a reason in that, unless it was fire related. But if it was fire related, they would have to state that.
Right.
It was fire related. Okay. See, here we got Maverick. Why did they deny your request, Freedom of Information Act? And again, you have some things out there like the VA White House hotline. Now, that's not to, and again, I look at the VA White House hotline like a high-level review. Why are you calling them? They just take the complaint and submit it to the VA. And I used it, I want to say 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 3 times. And I was able to get some type of resolution. And it's a young lady, it's on the tip of my tongue. She has a YouTube channel. And if she's watching, I do apologize if I get your last name wrong. Teresa Lack, not Leach, Lack, Leach. And I noticed that she had a video, and it was about the VA White House hotline. And her video was up for like, I think 6 days, and she only had 9 views. And I was like, wait a minute. And I remember doing something and I couldn't find it, and it came up on a timeline. And the videos, I think her video was like about 9 minutes. And then I went to her website. She had some good, she had a podcast. She had some good information about the VA, and she was, telling her personal story about, VA White House hotline. So I don't think she's on. I haven't seen, but I left her a couple of comments, and because nobody left comments, nobody liked. She had like 6 views. Had a lot of good information about the VA White House hotline. But one thing I did, I didn't give her my email because I wanted somebody to call me, and they actually did call me as it pertains to my FOIA request. Let's see. I requested my records on February 5th and nothing yet. I saw you put up that your disc. How long did it take you to get a copy of your disc?
For my disc, I put the dates down there too, because every once in a while, I do a different request because I like to keep my information current as well. So
when you submitted the request, it took me 11 months. It took them 11 months to get mine.
Mine took 4 months.
4 months.
Took 4 months. Right.
Okay.
Took 4 months.
Yeah.
And they're working pretty fast right now. I don't know if it's because everybody's working from home, which makes it a little bit easier to do work because veterans were not going to the VA and getting a lot of exams, so that type of work kind of slowed down. So administrative work picked up. So I know that they were directing some personnel to help in different areas, and FOIA was one.
Okay.
And
who does that? I know publications used to do it back when I first started at the VA. Do they have the CAs or maybe some VSRs doing those requests?
Yeah, I believe they have. It's volunteers, and I don't want to put the wrong information out there because I haven't followed up in the last couple of weeks, but they had different volunteers. It could have been VSRs, RVSR. But I know one person that did their request April, in February, and they were doing it for insurance purposes. They needed to get some insurance updated. So they had to submit it. But they submitted their request in February. They got theirs back in 2 months. So
okay. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to bring up Mr. Mitchell. He says request being processed under Privacy Act, however, denied under FOIA Exemption 6. I don't know what Exemption 6. Exception 6.
Exemption 6, yeah. Exemptions.
What that is. Who we got here?
Gotta look that
Living in Mexico. Living in Mexico is always on my live streams, and I appreciate it. And I ask him, like, man, what part of Mexico do you live? And I forget every single time. He tells me, and I always ask him. I know he's like, man, you can't remember. But he says last year, 2020, I got 6 years of back pay, man, at 30%. Yeah, so that's a nice 2-week trip to Greece, all inclusive first class from a CUE claim. I'm appealing to BVA for 100% for 6 years. I haven't worked since discharge. Can I file for those retroactive benefits under TDIU? Wow. I would say, and I'll let you weigh on this after me, DJ. I would say, more information is needed.
Right.
For somebody to answer that question, because you got to be looking at the entire claims file, especially if you're talking about retro TDIU back 6 years. It's definitely, you're going to have to be looking at what they're looking at. Did somebody you said earlier, somebody make a mistake of calling CUE based on effective date. And, it's one of the things that we do. We'll review rating decisions and provide feedback to see, if there was a possible CUE. And I've done reviews all the way back to 1982. It took 2 or 3 hours because you're looking at several rating decisions, but more information will be needed. What is your take on that, DJ?
Yeah, I agree. More information is needed because, like, for example, you haven't worked did they know you haven't worked? You know, were they aware of your employment status at that time? So, you know, that's one of the things that would come to mind. If I was the rater, did you actually work at that period, and are you able to prove that you submitted that evidence to the VA? You know, so that's one of the questions. I mean, it's a bunch of questions that could come off of your question there, but more information is needed for that.
Exactly. And I'm gonna let you take this one, DJ. I'm gonna let you take this next one.
Okay.
You go ahead and read it.
Nexus secondary. I wouldn't file without it. So you don't have to have a nexus for a secondary, but I wouldn't file without it in case you get a bad CMP exam. Well, my question would be, how can you prove something is secondary?
Like you say, that link, right?
Right.
That link. The only thing that I can think of is this. Let's just say you service connected, and I did this. This is what I did. Service connected for the back, and I was filing. I started having pains down my lower extremity, and I knew it was my sciatic nerve. So instead of claiming that secondary to the back and having to go to get an exam done and a medical opinion, I did an increase in my back. And on that DBQ for the back, what do they talk about? Radiculopathy, right?
That's right.
So that's a common. And so if a rater sees that a veteran has a diagnosis of radiculopathy on the DBQ, and that section for the sciatic nerve, femoral nerve, and all that is complete, you have to go ahead and grant, right?
Right.
So in that case, you don't need a nexus statement. But let's just say you're claiming depression secondary to tinnitus. That information, the mental information, is not on that audio exam. So you do need that nexus statement. Like you said, how else can you create that link between the two?
Right.
And then that, the medical opinion,
that's
right.
Right.
Rationale.
Medical opinion. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Let's see. We got, we're right at the hour. We're going to take another quick question. Let's see who we got here. I'm trying to pick the last question. Living in Mexico, Stiletto, Mexico, an hour from Monterey. I keep forgetting that. I'm sorry, living in Mexico. Let's see. And I'm trying to think of. Okay, here we go. We'll take this one. Just filed a convalescent claim for lumbar spine surgery that I had 2 days ago. What do you think is the most important information if a veteran is claiming that, DJ?
Well, is that condition that you're talking about, is that service connected, number one? Lumbar spine. Are you connected, service connected for your lumbar spine, a condition? That would be the number one thing I look at first. Yeah.
And then the operative report. That
That's
operative report. And you know, one thing I talked about this when they changed the information or the requirements for convalescent for what was the hip and the
knee replacements, right? The knee replacement. Yeah.
I would be asking my doctor before I even had that surgery, how long would I need to be on convalescent? Because I would be submitting that with that operative report.
Right.
You know, would I have to go back to work with restrictions? So instead of, you know, if it's for the knee, instead of giving a 3 months, now I can ask for an extension and get 6 months or whatever. You know what I mean? Continue getting those extensions. But what you're going to need, that evidence.
That's right.
You're going to need that evidence. So he says, yes, it is service connected. So yeah, you know, the operative report, and then I think we used to be an automatic 3 months, and then it, you know, we had to start looking at, you know, physical therapy, restrictions, and, you know, and stuff like that. So having that evidence ahead of time is key. So we're going to go ahead and
sorry.
Go ahead, DJ. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I was going to say we were going to go ahead and wrap it up, but you know, if you had any final thoughts, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and George, if another thing to to ponder is if you had your surgery with the VA and it's already a service connected condition, the VA talks to the VBA. So the VHA, hospital side, talks to the business side, which handles your compensation and pension. So if you had a surgery like that to a service connected condition, there's going to be a prompt to the business side. So they're going to send a message, and not to get into all the acronyms of the different systems and whatnot, but it'll pop up on the rater's work list. So they'll have to review it. But if you got it done at a private physician, you have to submit that information, because there's no way that the VA will know that you had an operation on a service connected condition.
So it goes back to when you're a rater and you have to do the when you have to go and review the progress notes, and is it still called Capri? The VHA progress notes, when they go in there and review that, is easy to find. But also keep in mind, if it's done through a private examiner, you got a year to submit that. Is it still a year you have to submit it? And also keep in mind, if the VA outsources it to a third-party contractor, then it's still a year. It's still looked at as a private doctor. But if it was done at the VA, let's just say 15 years ago, then you could come in now and claim it. But if it was done 15 years ago at a private doctor, you're outside that 1 year window, you're a no-go.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm going to take one more question, DJ. This gentleman, he always asks questions, and I think he signed up for the Veteran Town Hall next week, and he gave me a super sticker last month and donated. So he's going to be the last question, and that is Mr. Jordan. How you doing, Mr. Jordan? He said, I have an exam tomorrow for sleep apnea. Any tips? You want to take that one, DJ?
Tips. Well, like we said, you heard both of us talk about education as being high on our list. What I would do is, if it were me going in for an exam for sleep apnea, first I would want to know the criteria that they're going to be examining me for. So the CFR, the Part 4. If you pull that up, 38 CFR Part 4,
6847 diagnostic code.
I'm not sure right off the top of my head, but I can get it to you in a second.
I got my old rating schedule right here. Respiratory,
6847.
There it is.
6847. So look that up, and it'll tell you about the criteria. But there's a lot of different type of rumors that's going around on how you can successfully.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Test, but I don't like spreading rumors. But I'll just say that know the criteria, and if you have sleep apnea, it's going to come out. It's going to come out.
Yeah.
That test is precise.
Right. And it depends, like, how did you claim it? Did you claim it
Right.
on a direct basis? Did you claim it on a secondary basis? And if you claim it on a secondary basis, do you have any, medical literature saying if that primary service connected condition, do you have any medical literature that you can recite to show that there's a correlation between the two? And a big one is sleep apnea secondary to PTSD. There's a lot of medical literature out there, but again, a lot of veterans don't get educated. They don't do the legwork to go look at it. So when they get into that exam, guess what they get? They get long-winded. And that examiner's like this. And when do I take my lunch break? So you definitely want to be able to articulate that on the exam. So any final thoughts, Mr. Johnson? We'll go ahead and wrap it up. We're about 10 minutes over the hour that we wanted to do. Just any final thoughts to the KMD subscribers out there, or anybody else watching?
Well, one thing I would say is there's a lot of information on YouTube. Just be careful at some of it, because some of it can be misleading. And but just like with anything, if you have the references, you can go ahead and verify the information yourself. So that's the education part that Mr. Kimball is pushing so hard. If you know where to go to get the information, if you know how to accomplish the forms, you know what to expect at an examination, like Mr. Jordan just asked, you know, are there any tips, you know, for that sleep apnea? Now, that one, they're going to hook you up. You know, you're going to have all these wires on you. They're going to try to get you in a comfortable position. You know, there's a TV there. Some going to let you utilize the TV until you fall asleep. And they're going to track your snoring, your oxygen level, whether you have disconnect in, you know, in your breathing patterns and whatnot. So the big thing is, don't be afraid to research on your own, because you have more at stake than a person looking at your claim to rate it, or a person that's trying to give you some information. It's all up to you, and the benefits are amazing. The VA has amazing benefits for veterans. You know, just KMD 89 has plenty of YouTube videos. You can go on those and check those out. And as you get comfortable, hey, hop in a class or two, and you'll be amazed at how comfortable you feel and how quick you are to dispel those rumors and inconsistencies that people are out there on YouTube and in the community are perpetrating.
Yeah. And Rabbit Squirrel Garage gave us a super sticker, and he said my issue didn't get taken care of. So before we get off, I went back through the comments. I want to at least, he gave a super sticker. He donated to the channel, so definitely appreciate that. So Rabbit Squirrel Garage, make sure this is what it is. He says, I've been waiting for a PTSD rating for 2 years now. They say they can't find a stressor. Now, the question I would ask, is the claim still open?
Right.
Because if it's 2 years, I guarantee you some service center manager like, hey, we got to get this done. You know, I remember them calling me, say, hey, we had this claim on, you know, the books for 3 months. Stop what you're doing and work this like right now.
That's right.
So you say they can't find the stressor. Now the question from me to you is, can you confirm that stressor?
Right.
That's the thing. Don't always rely on the VA. And even in one of the classes I give, how to be successful in the VA claims process, I talk about PTSD stressors, combat, non-combat, and even stressors that cannot be verified.
Right.
I almost got shot. I almost got ran over IED explosion. Mm-hmm. There's no way to confirm that in most cases. So depending on what the stressor is, and can you claim it? So Squirrel Garage, I hope I don't see any other ones above that. So, wait a minute. I hope that's the issue that you were talking about. Yeah, that's the only one that I see. And he says, why can't they find my stressor? One, we don't know what the stressor is, and
right.
We're not working it, so we can't.
Yeah,
that'd be.
It's like you just said. Are you claiming PTSD due to fear? Like, were you stationed in Iraq, Afghanistan? Somewhere in the Middle East? Were you on a humanitarian assignment and witnessed something? Were you part of Hurricane Katrina? Essential personnel back in 2005, and let's see. Yep, I have docs to prove the stressor. They are still doing their thing.
Yeah. I think it's probably, a little bit more going on with that claim and getting that FOIA request. So that way you could see up until that point what they got going on. Now he says Gulf War.
Gulf War.
Okay. I think you said earlier, PTSD due to fear. You did mention that. And if you claim it that way, PTSD due to fear of hostile military terrorist activity, where's the first place? I know I used to look. I used to go right to the DD-214. If Southwest Asia, Afghanistan or Iraq, or Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Oman Sea, it's like maybe 15, 20 different locations. If it wasn't on the DD 214, then I'm going to the 201 file. I know the Air Force and Army has the 201 file, and you'll see it because everything from basic, the date you went to basic, the date you went to AIT if you went to a different location, the date you were in transit from AIT to your first duty station, and so forth. He says it was United Emirates.
Arab Emirates.
Yeah, so that's on that list. So they got to find that, especially now, one thing that people fail to realize, if you got an award or some type of citation,
medal, yep,
that can be used as confirmation.
Yeah.
Okay, so then figuring out what other medals, and we talk about this and how to be successful. We talk about combat medals, especially the ones that could verify RVN service, Gulf War. There's I got it right here in the beginning of my rating schedule. It's I don't have my glasses on to see, but it's in the M21 as well.
Right.
It's
and if you still have contact with say some of your commanding officers, they can write statements on your behalf too.
So there.
Remember, lay statements is also evidence. So if it's still open, you can still push evidence. You could give them as much evidence as you need. If you like you said, it's still open.
Yeah, because I've had vets. I remember vets submitting, other vets saying, "Hey, I was in Vietnam, and this was one of my soldiers."
That's right.
So now they're coming in and say, "Okay, reasonable doubt," and that always goes in favor of who?
The veteran.
The veteran. Okay.
That's right.
Mr. Jordan, he said everybody hit the like button. Yep. We didn't get as many people this night, but we're going to do this once a month. We're still going to continue to educate people. Like I said, I'll just wrap it up. I know we want to keep it to 1 hour, about 17 minutes over, but we got the Veteran Town Hall next week. And again, if you signed up, please show up, because a lot of veterans are asking, is there more seats available? And we want to cap it at 20 because we want to keep it to an hour. So please show up if you signed up. Okay. So thanks for everybody. And again, I want to welcome Miss DJ to the team. I really appreciate it. Definitely your asset. You provided a lot of good educational information. And again, I want to give a shout out to our assistant, Miss Deborah. Man, it's been like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Just some of the admin stuff that she's been doing to free me up to do some other stuff. But look out for more YouTube videos. We're going to, start putting out a little bit more information to veterans. So again, go to our website, kmd89.com. We got those classes. We also do private Q&A sessions, but you have to call us for that because those are times outside of what's listed on our website. Okay. So with that being said, appreciate you, DJ, Ms. Deborah, for joining the team. It's all about educating the vet, and I'll see the individuals next week for the Veteran Town Hall. All right.
All right.
Okay. Take care, everybody.